Oof. Okay, a bee just flew into my window, which is right behind my laptop. But hello, I am Bree, and I am the history half of Pontifex, and this is part 5 of our AMA leading up to our anniversary special. So I have 3 more questions to answer. The first is from Ari from Quest Friends, who asked, "What is your favorite saint slash miracle that you've come across in your research?" So I'm gonna say Saint Cecilia at the top, but there's a reason for this because I'm a little bit obsessed with incorrupt saints. I think this is the weirdest phenomena, and I'm just think it's so cool. And so as soon as a saint has been found incorrupt, I am all over it. So there will definitely even be popes that are incorrupt in the future. So I'm really looking forward to covering those. But Saint Cecilia is our first saint that we really come across in great detail. She plays a huge story in, or a huge role in the story of several popes, Calixtus, Urban, even some future popes. So she's really quite tied with the papacy, and that's really cool. And then she was found incorrupt, and it's just so cool. So yeah, Cecilia. Although I will say that Gregory's Eucharist miracle is still hilarious and will never not be hilarious because I cannot imagine what it would have been like to be at the Eucharist and be holding these wafers and suddenly they just turn into like bloody chunks of human. It's just, it's the worst. And yeah, so that's my answer. Brian McAlpin asked what our favorite slash most interesting heresy is and why. And so far, where we are in the episodes, Pelagianism is my answer because I think it's kind of this really horrible misunderstanding that happened with this really optimistic monk and his view of man and their ability to participate in their own salvation. I think he had a really kind of lovely outlook about life, and it was all just like this terrible, he used the wrong wording or it got interpreted the wrong way to take some of that onus away from God and from Christ, and so he gets condemned as a heretic, and I feel terrible for him because he was so hurt by this, and that was not at all what he wanted, and he even like came to the Pope to be like, no, this is not what I'm about. So I think it's the most interesting heresy because it's one that if worded slightly differently might be compatible with the church. I say that very carefully, obviously, because it does become a very strongly condemned thing. But it's kind of light and lovely and clearly with no malice aforethought as a heresy. So I just also really liked Pelagius and I felt quite terrible for him. So there's that. And our final question comes from Marco Capelli of Storia d'Italia, which, if you speak Italian, he has one of the best history shows out there in Italy, and he's in regular communication and is wonderful to us. So check that out if you speak Italian. And I have to listen to it in like really slowed down, or I catch nothing. And that's because my Italian's not amazing. So he asked, what did the Eastern patriarchs like Constantinople, Alexandria, and Antioch make of the apostolic primacy that the popes tried to impose on them, especially in the 6th century when the authority of the popes was at a particularly low ebb? And this is a very dynamic question, right? Because we've seen, when we were talking about Athanasius back in the day, we talked to the History of the Copts podcast about how that papal primacy is not something that they would have even considered as a valid thing at all at that time period. And it doesn't really start to take effect in the Eastern patriarchs until, let's say, Leo, who starts to push for it quite strongly. But even then, it's kind of, it seems it's very dynamic and gives to the ebb and flow of where the emperor was and how the emperor feels. Because when we had a very orthodox leaning emperor, then we have the patriarchs talking about, you know, the honorable and apostolic and, you know, origin of the church and the true father of everything. But when the emperor was not getting along with the pope or had a different viewpoint, that all starts to go out the window, and we see them trying to build upon that Canon 28 of the Council of Chalcedon that Leo had rejected, and trying to get it ratified again and again. And we're so not done with this, because we are going to start seeing this come back up in our episodes coming up soon, particularly when we get to Sergius, that Constantinople does try to, you know, get itself up on that level again. As far as Alexandria and Antioch, they do definitely take a backseat to that, and they do tend to lean more orthodox and tend to be more accepting of that papal primacy. But as we get especially into the 7th century, a little bit after that point, they become less valid, I suppose, in a way, because we have empty patriarchies, right? They're not able to hold their own office because we have Muslim invasions, and we have those areas that are completely unable to maintain a bishop or a patriarch in that role. So they start to become like token appointed figures who will either agree with the Patriarch of Constantinople or the Bishop of Rome, depending on... I'm sure you can hear that. Those are my dogs. They're having a good time. But you can... I am 6.5 minutes into this. I'm not re-recording it because of the dogs, so I will just talk over them. But basically, you get the idea. But with that, that is our last question. So I will say thank you all for listening so very, very much to our show. We appreciate you so much over the last 2 years. It's been amazing. We've had super amazing opportunities. We've met super amazing people. We've had super amazing engagement, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So that's awesome, and really, really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being a part of everything that we've done so far. Hope you'll continue listening, because there are so many stories still to come. Some of the most scandalous, some of the most wild, some of the most dramatic, and of course, the Medici. So please keep listening. Thank you all so much. And next week, you should be getting our anniversary special adventure. So thanks again.